think Brian's just kind of frozen up
Brian,
again.
we're live.
Are you all here?
Yeah, Brian's freezing up again.
He's gone.
That's another start.
Oh,
Hey.
brilliant.
Are you still there, Brian?
Earth calling, Brian.
Nah, he's gone.
Well, anyway, guys, welcome to
There's always
UK.
one.
Well, guys, welcome to UK Cowboys TV. I'm Paul. We've got Jamie, Rich, and Graham, and we do have Brian, but due to Irish internet connections, sorry, Brian, we have a wee technical difficulty, but it should be all good. Hopefully, we'll get that sorted. But yeah, guys, victory against the Panthers. What about them Cowboys? What about that?
I'm getting
Number
used
one
to
defense
Victory
who?
Mondays. It's growing on me, Victory Mondays and
Yeah.
Tuesdays.
I'm loving
Nice
it.
feel.
I'm
I
absolutely
like it.
loving it.
It's nice starting the week in a good mood, isn't it? Usually, Monday.
Oh,
Worst day of the
DJ Dog in the house.
On fire.
Ada, welcome. How we all
Fire,
doing,
fire.
everyone? Anyone in the comments? Hope you're all doing having a fantastic start to the week. But yeah, guys, so what do you guys thought about the game?
Strong on both sides of the ball. Complementary football. See, when you can stay balanced like we can, sky's the limit. Try not to get too carried away, but our defense is turning over into a turnover machine.
Yeah.
You know, like they are. I mean, when our team's going to start respecting Trevon Diggs? Because everybody's paying for it right now.
Yeah. Rich?
He's fucking number one defense who? Shit. Like, fuck, he's literally standing there. It's like, you throw it my way, I'm going to fucking pick it. And he fucking picks it. Oh, it's sick. It's fucking sick, man. I love it. I love it.
Just so everyone is aware, Rich has no filter on this show.
Sorry.
So I think every second word there, I think it was mentioned the word fuck. So I think we're all good, Rich. We're UK, so what do we expect? But
Potty
Jamie,
mouth of the sailor.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, but Jamie, what's your thoughts about the game as well? I'm really like.
Oh, do you know probably the best three words to describe it is goddamn good. That was like I say, yeah, they missed arguably their best player on offense in McCaffrey, but that defense of theirs is one of the top defenses in the league. Dak was good as he's been all season. Zeke absolutely burst it out. He was due a big game in terms of the ground game. He was due to bust a 100-yard game, and he well and truly did that. And then on the defense, I think was it 5 sacks we got in total that game, and Trevon Diggs again is just.
Yeah, we will cover that, and when we talk about the defense in terms of the sacks and how
we will.
What a transformation our defense is going game by game. But so as you can see, guys are watching the stream right now. Cowboys won 36-28. We're currently 3-1, and we're leading the NFC East. So with that being said, for me, in terms of the game, I am over the moon. Like, I felt as though there was a couple of decisions kind of throughout the game where we're kind of playing it too safe, especially right at the end, like taking Diggs off and stuff like that, and the early part of the game where it was quite closely contested. And here's the thing, and someone, Star Guy, mentioned this in their podcast the other night, as they were on a Panthers podcast saying they just don't know why they abandoned their run game pretty much, because their run game was actually being quite effective for the early parts of that game, I thought. And they were called, sorry guys, that's Arnie just shaking his booty there.
I can see the shadow.
That's what with a ghost earlier when he walked past.
But overall, like we're seeing, for me, I'm seeing this continuous progression, not just offensively and defensively. So as a Cowboys fan, this is exactly what we want, especially after the nightmare season we had from last year. So, But anyway, guys, let's move on to the news and updates. So let me just get the wee video to get us into the next segment. Okay, so news and updates. So there was no injury reports in terms of the weight of the Panthers game. Lyle Collins is officially allowed to come back to practice within with the team. Obviously, Trevon Diggs now leads the NFL. Has now got 5 interceptions last 4 games, and is the only cornerback in 2021 to have an interception in every game this year. And the reports from everyone saying that his back injury is deemed not serious. It was just more of a precaution. Because in a way, now kind of thinking about it, guys, I thought at the time, so why are we taking him out, bringing Canada? Like, I was all up for bringing Canada into the game, but we will cover more into that in detail. But in terms of the injury to Diggs, do you guys feel that it was the right call based on how many games we've got left of the season?
Yeah.
And we'll start with the Godfather, Jamie.
Yeah, just with how the scoreline was, there's no point risking your best player on defense. Get him out of the game. And when some of these guys have stepped in from time to time, they've made plays. They've seen it out. So when he came out, I didn't feel like the game was going to run away with us, and how we played was going to change. And it proved to be that. I think the only disappointment, and it's not so much disappointment of the game, it's just more of a disappointment for the defensive guys. I felt sorry for them because I don't think the Panthers deserve to score that many points, and it makes it look a lot closer than it was. And just with the way that all of the guys on defense played, I felt like that they deserved a lot less points than they gave up. So that's just not a disappointment in how they played. It was just a disappointment for them because they deserve to not concede as many points as they actually ended up giving up.
Rich, what are your thoughts about the whole Trevon Diggs injury?
Not concerned. If they're not concerned, I'm not concerned. That's all you can really do. I mean, taking him out is sort of, I mean, he's turned into an absolute baller, an absolute playmaker. He's helping bring an injured unit. You know, the Cowboys are now, I think, like, they're definitely in the top 10. I think they're 5 or 6 on the power rankings now on NFL Network. They've taken a massive jump, and that is in no small part due to him. So if you're not sure, you have a little scare, just sit him out. He's already had 2 interceptions. Yeah, you want to see him maybe get a third and ball out, but is it worth potentially aggravating that injury and having it be worse? Probably not in the grand scheme of things. Just like, you've been a stud today, kid. Just take a seat. Enjoy the bench for now. It's not going to be every game.
Graham?
I mean, when you take a 20-point lead, a 19-point lead into the fourth quarter, you know, your running game becomes the best defense. I mean, just checking through the stats there, the Panthers ran the ball twice in the fourth quarter. Twice the entire quarter, simply because they had to, trying to make up for time and for our run offense. So to take Diggs out, it's not really it's not going to deflate us all that much. He's already contributed so much to the game, and you've got a healthy lead to control as well. And as soon as you get that kind of lead, I've said it for a long, long time, if we get 2 scores ahead, the game is effectively over. They will come back and score some extra points, but it's junk time. You know, it's not like they're gonna kind of force their way back into the game, not with a 19-point deficit leading into the fourth quarter. I wasn't too concerned at all, really. They have, don't get me wrong, they have a really good wide receiver core. I was really, really impressed, particularly with DJ Moore. You know, he was a thorn in our side all night. But when you've got a 20 or 19-point lead, you can simply go to the run, keep their offense on the sideline, limit what Sam Darnold can do, and we effectively forced two interceptions in that game. And also, when you can when Dak can throw for 188 yards and 4 touchdowns, you can't get much more efficient than that. No turnovers. You know, he did what he had to do extremely effectively, and it all clicked into place.
I think you've got to look at this week, haven't you, as well? And I know the Giants aren't playing well, and they haven't played well for a while. But we all know from past experience, especially supporting the Cowboys, how these NFC East games can turn on a knife edge, and you can be having the worst running in your season. But especially when it's the Cowboys, they up the game, and they up the game against Washington and the Eagles as well. So take him out of the game, and like I say, as G says, our run game becomes our defense. It keeps them off the field, and you get him ready and get him a little bit more extra recovery time in prep for this weekend and another big game.
Yeah, so as we spoke about Trevor Diggs there. We're seeing, obviously, it's saying it's not season. We're just basically reading from the timeline as it's coming on from the screen. Other things to report is that Neville Gallimore's coming back into practice soon. We've also seen that Chancey Golston got his first NFL sack, so that was brilliant to see. Him have not really having much time during camp for him to come back into the squad and come back. Keanu Neal coming back from COVID protocol. Damian Wilson set to return to practice. Tyrell Nestry set to return to practice. There's Neville Gallimore, as I just mentioned there, and individual drills, which I am ecstatic about because that's my boy. Cowboys home record attendance of 93,262, and considering with everything what's going on in the world still with COVID and stuff like that is an amazing attendance considering. So, other than that, two Vicky players with the most pressures this week was obviously Micah Parsons, Osa Digizua. But yeah, I think there was nothing really much else to report because there was any injury reports being filed up. So yeah, I think we're safe to say we can actually move on to the next section, guys. Are you all right with that? We'll start talking about the offense.
What I will say is it makes a nice change considering the past couple of weeks we've had. You would check Twitter every day, right? Who's injured today?
Exactly.
It was they were coming thick and fast for a while there, so it's nice to come through a game without any additional hassle.
Tristy, apologies if I don't mention your name. Kellen Moore is doing great, guys. What else can we say? Kellen Moore is doing a fantastic job so far. He's in comparison to the last year, and I think we'll talk about this comment as we move into this next section. So let me just set it up just now. Right. So, boys, the offense, and Arnie is still walking about like a headless chicken behind me.
The ghost in your house, Paul.
Yeah, so he is. So, first comment it just struck me there was from Alfie Wallace, and thanks for the comment, Alfie. Terrence Steele, Player of the Year. I maybe not go too far in that, but he made some fantastic blocks in that run game. And guys, I think. Did you guys just hear that?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Oh, for God's sake! Apologies, everyone. That is my dog. So
it's like Paul. It's like watching something that Insidious behind you. You just see the shadow. He just wanders across.
Oh, don't say that. That film freaks me out. But so
That's
yeah,
Paul not sleeping tonight.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, Terrence Steele. I mean, he had a great game last week. He's even had an even better game this week, personally. And Nick's made a really great comment in terms of his blocking scheme, in terms of the run game. And I think it was I can't remember what play it was, but it was the main long dash for Zeke, just being short of the actual end zone.
Yep.
When you look at the dissection of that bit of clip of that film, I mean, him and Zach Martin absolutely obliterated that whole defensive line. I don't know, guys, but I really do think if we have things are going right now with Terence Steele really making the progression that he's doing right now, he actually might actually push out Lyle Collins out for the job. I don't know about you guys, but it's an opinion that it could.
It's an awkward one, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
you're in that situation where it's one of those good problems to have. Do you take the veteran guy that's proven himself before, or do you run with a hot option? So
it's interesting because you've got two of the biggest advocates for adding offensive line help on tonight. I still need to see more from Steele before he becomes a starter. If he can do it for the next 2-3 weeks, that's a different story. If he can produce the same form for the next 2 weeks through October, then he may very well change my mind. But I still think Collins steps back into the role. But I like the question, Paul, because you can't just go through you guys are the 5 starters for the season and run with it. You know, if you've got competition and training and your weekly practice, then why not? For me, I still think the sample size is a little bit small. I'm a big one for sample size. But he's taking the opportunity. I just hope he continues to take the opportunity because it's going to be an awful lot to dislodge Collins. Depending on who you believe and who you read on Twitter, there's all sorts of complications. But if we're beginning to get Collins back, I'm still putting Collins in there, but I feel a hell of a lot better about my swing tackle. I'll say that.
You know, we've spoke about it time and time again, haven't we? And we've said it's a league of kind of next man up in it, and especially with this offensive line, chances are limited from time to time. And when you get into games, you've got to take the bull by the horns, haven't you, so to speak, and make the most of the opportunity. And he's definitely doing that. And like you say, Collins is probably more than likely going to slot back in there when all this is said and done. But it's certainly made it an interesting topic of conversation around the coaches' table of when that situation does happen and he's becomes available, because then, I mean, he's not played. He's not, well, apart from preseason, he's not had a lot of time. Whereas he's obviously up on game speed and he's played to a high level. So as much as I agree with G, I think it's going to be a tough call to make. Like I say, I don't think it's going to be as easy what it might have been if this was just a bog standard, right? Yeah, he's had to cover and he's not played at a high level. There's going to be some serious conversations. I bet wouldn't surprise me if the room split, to be fair.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the stats as well. If there was one thing that really struck out for me as well is, again, our tight ends are being really effective offensively as well. But Dalton Schultz and Blake Jarwin. Sorry, guys, my dog's desperate to go outside. I'll tell you what, Brian. Please, folks, I'll be back in a couple of minutes. I think my dog's dying to get outside. Brian, can you? Graham, can you take over for a wee quick second?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, so I think Paul was going on to talk about the tight end position. It's quite often you see a Cowboys tight end streak down the inside and end up with a touchdown pass if one of you guys want to take that. And I'm quite sure you know what I'm talking about.
Do you know, I think we're all kind of starting to eat our words with the tight ends, aren't we? And I know I've been a massive advocate of saying that this tight end core isn't the best and doesn't fill me with confidence. But last week, you know what I mean? Like, or say this week, I mean, with Schultz last week. So, I mean, it's like 1 week on, 1 week off kind of thing. It's like they're starting to gel as a real good combination and become real threats. I know it's like I say, and sometimes the stats don't jump off the page just because of the what's the word? Kind of the abundance of talent that we've got, or the riches on offense. So they don't always jump out, but I think you've got to look at it in terms of when they're in there, they've stepped up, and I'll put my hands up and say I was wrong. Yeah, I was obviously. Everyone knows I was on the Cal pitch train going into the draft. That was obviously taken away early on, but still, I would have liked to have seen him gone up for him. But that's one of them things. And yeah, at the minute, yeah, I can't see these guys doing no wrong, and long may this continue.
I mean,
Well,
if you look
it was dicey early on with old Butterfingers. Got very lucky there on a couple of occasions, but it was pretty good. They didn't let it get to them. Or Schultz didn't specifically anyway, but the entire offense didn't. But Schultz, I like that he, it didn't seem to knock things between him and Dak. They went away from it, gave him a little bit of a break, and then came back to him, and he was fine. It was that's what you want to see. That's the toughness of this team, specifically the offense, the mental toughness that we've seen a couple of times now in these first 4 games. But yeah, exactly right what you guys have said. It's every time we seem to sort of say that they're not the greatest at this or the greatest at that, and they come out and they prove us wrong, which is again is a brilliant sort of problem to have,
Do you think some of the other teams are kind of like that in a little bit, and maybe not giving them the respect or game planning a lot, just for the fact if you look at the second touchdown where it was wide open, and it was like 15, 20 yards, but a few times in some of the other games they've been wide open, and it's like they've sit there and gone, yeah, do you know what, these guys don't get involved much in games in terms of the passing, so we don't have to really worry about them. So I wonder if teams are underestimating them a little bit, and now it's biting them in the ass.
Maybe. I mean, there were occasions where the guys were covered pretty well and they were working themselves open. It was down to them actually getting open and working themselves open, not necessarily not being covered on quite a few occasions. But you need to remember as well that the number of weapons that this team has got, and our big knock on Schultz coming into this season was his strength was definitely the blocking side of things, not catching passes, and he's come out and shown us now that he can do that, and he can do it very well. And he helped net me some money on the weekend as well, which was brilliant doing that. But he's, you got the receiver core, even with Gallup out, you got that receiver core there, and then you got both tight ends. You got Zeke and Pollard coming out of the backfield as well, and they can both, obviously not just rocking hand on a handoff, they can both catch. So it's a really good question there as well. Who's the number 1 tight end? I mean, for me, it's still probably the way we were going in. It's probably Schultz, purely because he has that edge on blocking. But it's a very good question. They're both playing pretty damn well.
Yeah. To your question, Jamie, 5 different touchdown scorers on Sunday. Now, how many teams can offer that? After the Cowboys game, like regular viewers will know, my dad's a Packers fan. I'll say here and now that our offense is better than the Packers' offense. Not to get too carried away, but we might have the best offense in the league, because looking across the league, you can see issues with they're not massive issues, but you can see issues with everybody else. When your quarterback comes in and throws 4 touchdown passes for 188 yards, and you never seem to look like giving up the game. I don't know how much less the Cowboys can ask Dak to do, because he simply comes in, does what he needs to do, keeps the running game flowing, spreads the ball around through the air. We're talking. We didn't talk much about the tight ends, but I go back to the point that I raised many times about Tony Pollard. You've only got one ball. You can only give the ball to one offensive playmaker, and if we're going to have 5 different guys catching touchdown passes or scoring touchdowns, that's a pretty tough offense to deal with.
Yeah, and I mean the really good thing in this game, and the difference in this game as opposed to the past few, was that it didn't need Dak coming in, throwing the ball a crazy amount to be able to spread it around and get that. This was a nice game, because the criticism of what a lot of people were making earlier on after the first couple of games was that Dak might be in this group of quarterbacks that throws for a ton of yards but doesn't necessarily get much done. And that's been proven to be absolute bollocks,
Yeah.
for want of a better way of putting it, because he's come in and he's shown exactly that. He didn't even know he didn't make 200, and look at what he's done. He's come in and done a lot with not very much.
Just before we kind of move on, I want to bring our actual host back onto the show. I think he's finally sorted his connection now. So, oh, there he is. How you doing, Brian?
Hey.
There we go. Good evening,
Oh.
good evening, all.
Nice
It
to
looks like
Bit late.
it looked.
Is it early for Thursday?
I'm
You know, we
just
start
getting in time
9, right?
for Thursday. It looks like the Facebook delays and strike caught up with me this evening here in Ireland with our notoriously
Here
slow
we
broadband speed.
go. Oh, that's poor Brian. You're better than that.
I know. But no, sorry to all of you, and thanks for Paul and Graham for stepping into the breach there for the few minutes I was out. So I know you guys have been going through the offense, and you've talked about the offensive line and tight end. So I have been listening, but and to the point you were kind of making there in terms of Dak didn't even know he'd thrown for less than 200 yards, like. That seems to be a whole thing with the team this year. It's about the team. There's no individuals. There's no egos, anything like that. We made reference to it last week that, Zeke was just shy of 100 yards and he gave Corey Clement time because he needs to get reps as well. And there just seems to be no egos anymore.
It seems not to disrespect other teams' defenses, but they seem to be having a lot more fun, and it seems a lot easier for them this year. And what I mean by that is in terms of it's the playbook doesn't seem to be like very complicated. It's just it's still set up so they can do the simple things efficiently. Like I say, the last few years, especially under Jason Garrett, it seemed very regimented, and it was you knew that even if the Cowboys were 3rd and 11, they would probably run and try to gain some yards for punting, or it'd be a specific pass play. And we could all see it coming, whereas this, you literally can't really tell what the offense is going to do. And Kellen Moore's got the confidence in Dak, in Zeke, in the receivers, in the offensive line to, and I think he touched on it, didn't he? Was it the Chargers game where they said that the Chargers had given them one read that they're not giving him all game, and he had the freedom to change it up and try, and it paid off. And I think it was for the touchdown to Cedric Wilson. So so that's what you want. You don't want to be regimented. You want to keep teams guessing, and it's good to see that they've got that fluidity, and it's exciting to watch, and it's not been for the last few years. So I think we're getting spoiled this year so far.
Yeah.
Definitely, it's growing. It's growing really well, and that faith that Kellen has in the players is reciprocated. That's a two-way street. You can tell by listening to them, especially to Zeke, that they have the faith in Kellen Moore and in the play calling. And it's nice to see as well from listening to Dak, from the point you just made, if they're taking plays from earlier on in the game and using them to their advantage. So it's not just a case of Kellen's coming up and scheming things team by team. That's evolving throughout the game as it should be, which is something we've really not seen, and that makes a world of difference. And it's working on both sides of the ball as well. My absolute favorite bit coming out of that game was Randy Gregory, and I really want to see more. If you haven't listened to his interview, go listen to it and listen to him about how they're taught how to rush, because they're rushing as one, not even as a unit, as a team. They are rushing as one. It really is a complete everyone in it. It doesn't matter who gets the glory, because they're all going to get it at some point, like Zeke said. Everyone is going in, lights out, and you can see just how deeply penetrated these messages are from these coordinators or from the coaches. It's brilliant to see.
Just to extend what you're just saying there, Rich, you kind of mentioned just there, like the players are reciprocating back to Kellen Moore. I think the players are reciprocating to each other more than anything.
And that's the other thing as well.
Like the starters all the way down to the fourth stringers. Like it's like what you were saying there, Brian. Zeke last week giving employee Clemens those reps. Like we're even seeing we're seeing how Terrence Steele stepped up this game, a guy we thought was going to be an absolute nightmare. so far he has proven us all wrong so far, but obviously the jury's still out for him. But in terms of even like our tight ends, like we were okay, but now they've really stepped up the game, especially in the blocking scheme in this game compared to the last week. They made some mistakes. They seem to nail that out. It's like it seems like they are really sticking down to like I think because if there was one thing we really did feel so players didn't really do really well. I can't really comment, but not every player is going to be like Sean Lee and digest every bit of ounce of game film of what they learned and what they did a mistake. It seems like the players are now like identifying what they'd made a mistake and try and make sure not to do that again. And we're seeing that progression from every player. We're seeing players that are actually, I could do this, I can do that. We're seeing like I know we're going to be talking about the defense, but we just saw Chancey Golston, a guy that's not really had much of a training camp because of injury. It just came in, and we're seeing like Cedric Wilson, the fourth stringer, just came in and he pulled one of the best touchdowns in the game. That spin move, that spin move was ridiculous.
Made him his bitch. It was amazing.
Exactly. You just took the words out of my mouth. He did. He absolutely schooled them.
Did you see him after the play? He was just there, just like. And just held up a hand and was just like, what just happened?
What?
He was holding fresh air.
Like
he was.
He was like trailing the ball, walking into the end zone,
and then he walked in.
If that was in a video game, that would be a fatality. That'd be a fatality.
Yeah,
it's true.
Finish him.
Just remind me when we're on the defense to come back. I have something to share that I saw about Randy Gregory just before we came on air. But one thing I just wanted to touch on, you were talking about Kellen Moore and opening the playbook. Correct me if I'm wrong, or did I actually dream this? Did Zeke throw a pass on Sunday night? Was there a lateral to Zeke and Zeke threw a pass?
It was right at the very end. It was a he basically lobbed the ball to Pollard, wasn't it? At the end to see.
Yeah, I think it was to Pollard. Yeah,
it was a handoff to Zeke, and then he.
Yeah. So Kellen Moore he's using all of the playbook, and he seems to have an ability to add something new and fresh every week into that playbook. So, we see in the comments there, and folks, as ever, please make sure and comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know what was good. Let us know what was bad, who your studs and duds are from the game. We'll cover it all for you. But, the comments are coming in hot and heavy about Kellen Moore getting a head coaching job next year. And I think the way he's going, there's no doubt that he will be in the running for a head coach's position.
Yeah.
He'll get interviews, but I think did we push on it a little bit last week? I think there's some, like I say, he turned down Boise. You know what I mean? Boise was his boyhood team, and you know what I mean? I just think that Jerry obviously and sees something in him, and I've got a feeling this is like a Jason Garrett part 2 kind of thing. In terms of they're going to bed him in to be the next head coach of this team, and to be honest, it's going to happen. He's heading that way. That the offense has taken leaps and bounds since he took on the offensive coordinator role.
Yeah, I mean, you'd hope that he has this year all the success, and that sort of helps cement him into this position moving forward from the way he feels about it. If the Cowboys do really well this year, no matter what happens, if they they make the playoffs and get decent penetration in it, you got to think that he'd be wanting to stay to see just how far he can push things under Dak. And will obviously hold the changes on the defensive side of the ball as well, because they can make some noise for the next few years at least if they all stick together and they can keep this unit and keep improving.
I'm not convinced. I think if up until the injuries last year, up until we lost Dak and our offensive line started to crack, and then we've gone on a good run so far this season. Do you not think there's enough spotlight on America's team for another team to have a crack at Kellen Moore?
Of course, they'll have a crack.
It's not. Yeah. I mean, it's not a fluke. It's not a fluke. He must be he must be a fairly good offensive mind because he's got the weapons that he did last year. I mean, all the big playmakers were there last year, and we saw them until the injury started to come in. I think I mentioned last year that I saw reports that Detroit were looking at him. Obviously, we've talked
Philly
about
as well, weren't they?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, can you not?
Yeah.
I mean, imagine. Remember Black Monday from last year? How many head coaches rolled? See if he drives this team to deep into the playoffs. I don't know if there's an offer good enough from Jerry to turn down the opportunity, because there's only 32 head coaching roles in the world, and if you get offered one of them, when is that opportunity going to come up again? You know, you could stick to your offensive coordinator role. Your team has a stinking season, and before you know it, nobody's ever looking at you again. So, I would say the two big candidates for me are always Eric Bieniemy at Kansas and Kellen Moore. If he sticks around, brilliant. I'd love to see him stick around, but if this offensive performance continues, it's going to be really difficult to hold on to.
I think like I've seen this being discussed through a different podcasts. Or like we'll give a wee shout out to our friends and stuff like that later on, Star Guy and J-Tuck and that. But the talk everyone seems to be saying is like, do you really think that Jerry Jones has actually got him on a really good deal? Like he's been promised the head coaching role after McCarthy, pretty much. That seems to be like the incentive more than anything.
It wouldn't surprise me, because they brought in Jason Garrett on a similar sort of expectation of you come in, you be the offensive coordinator for a couple of years, and then you're the next guy. And before he'd even started, everyone loved him. They were raving on him in terms of how much of a brand new offensive mind Kellen Moore was. Just how much of a prodigy he was going to be, and we're seeing that now come to fruition. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if that was the case.
Well, we kind of knew that already, even when he was still a quarterback. When we found that he was actually writing some of his own plays back in Boise State as a quarterback. He's very coach minded, even though he was still actively playing at college. So for him to kind of progress that as he went through, played a couple of years in the NFL, played for Detroit, played for Dallas, now became quarterback coach, now became offensive coordinator. It just kind of comes to show like it's never left him. Like he's always thinking about how to be that next. I really don't know that. What was that Thierry Henry always used to? That je ne sais quoi. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you what would be interesting, and not to kind of jump on, if we do go on to win it all, what's going to happen, like you say, because if we go out and win it all.
Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry, Brian. Sorry, mate. Yeah. So Kellen's dad was also a coach as well. So perfect.
And I think it kind of, for all of us, obviously, you know, soccer and rugby would be our kind of main sports over here, and it seems to be a case with Kellen that a mediocre player seems to make a great coach. You know, all of the top managers here would have had mediocre to good playing careers, but then when they went into management and coaching, they seem to have lit it up. And same thing seems to be happening here with Kellen. I don't think he took any interviews this year, did he? Bar talking to Boise State. So
didn't he go and visit Philly? Yeah,
I think he might have visited, but I think he turned down an interview. But
I can't remember.
Yeah, but I think what tends to happen is that you'll be interviewed and you won't get it on the first time, but next year. So you'd be looking at sort of 2023, and he'd be primed for a head coaching job there. Like Graham, you made the point there on Eric Bieniemy that, you know, he's been interviewing for a couple of years. Kevin Stefanski has been interviewing for a couple of years. Robert Saleh has been interviewing for a couple of years. So it can take a year or 2 years, and I think in that time frame, Jerry and Stephen and Will McClay are going to have to make that decision whether Mike McCarthy is here long term or they want to move on with Kellen Moore as the head coach.
A couple of questions I asked myself. If they were set on Kellen Moore being the head coach soon, why did they hire Mike McCarthy?
Yeah, because he's not ready. He's only been here. He's not been in this position very long, and this is the problem. Is that it's a great point that you guys made earlier that there's only 32 head coaching positions in this league, and all it takes is one or two bad seasons.
He's not gonna last.
Yeah, and you fall out of grace. But at the same time, you can rush into things too quick.
Yeah.
And the other question I would ask, if there's an agreement between Jerry Jones and Kellen Moore that Kellen Moore is the next Cowboys head coach, what does Mike McCarthy think of that? By the way, Mike, your replacement's in the building. Just to let you know. Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is that right?
But then you can nearly always expect that, really, to a degree. I think whenever a head coach goes, typically you always look for one of the coordinators to step up if you're not going to bring someone in from outside.
The other to that as well is how long has this team, in terms of the playing staff, got left together? Because do you want to put Kellen Moore in charge of the team effectively as it is now with a good group of players, or do you want to blow it up and rebuild and let him head coach a rebuilding team?
Well, here's my point. Wasn't this not the same scenario when Wade Phillips was head coach?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
Yeah, Garrett was offensive coordinator, and he was touted to be Wade Phillips. And we all know Wade Phillips. Well, he didn't really took too kind to the whole idea as well. He was getting replaced by Jason. We know that because he is quite outspoken. So.
And it put huge pressure on Wade Phillips as well.
Yeah.
Because it's almost as if you draft a first round quarterback behind your starter, and as soon as it all goes to pot on the field, bring in the new guy. You can hear the fans chanting for it.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I do like Mike McCarthy. I think from last year's disaster was just basically trying to find your feet season. Trying do we have the right coaches in? Do we have the right players in? Now this year seems to be everything's kind of falling into place for him. He's got the defensive coordinator. He trusts the process that he's got now with the guys he's got in. And Mike actually makes a really great point. I think I'd be worried about that as well.
Do you know what? It's the British effect. All that's all I'm going to say is, you know what I mean? It's all gone. You know what I mean? There's a British coach in there coaching that D line.
I love it.
Yeah,
I've met Adam. He is actually quite a cool guy. This was long way before he even stepped foot in the NFL. This was back when he was head coach of the London Warriors. Was it Warriors or Olympians? I can't. It was one either or. But really nice guy. He really knows his stuff, and he's played in NFL Europe. He's got experience playing at a decent level. But he's went through the whole program, what the women coaches are now doing. They're kind of going through that same process, and the ones I know I might be trying to jump in from one section to the other right now, but we're seeing a lot more female coaches coming to they're going for that same process where they're pretty much interns. This is what Adam had to do, and he went through that process, did his internship, then he kind of got the coaching roles for under Dan Quinn. Now he's actually getting himself the defensive line coach, and the way how things are doing right now with Dallas right now, it won't be long till he'll may actually get asked to do even more, a more higher role or some sort.
Yeah. It'll take a little bit of time to come up for him. I think just kind of to touch back on what you guys were saying there a minute ago in terms of Kellen Moore and how long is this playing staff going to be together. I think this team has a 2-year window. And then you're going to have to start breaking down the offensive line. You're going to have Dak and Zeke on big contracts, and you're going to have to start making calls in terms of your linebacker who nobody likes. You're going to have to make a decision this summer on Trayvon Diggs. You know, so but in terms of Dan Quinn,
I'm gonna throw a curveball back towards you, Brian. What about the whole Michael Gallup? What about the Michael Gallup situation? Because even though we're still talking offense here.
Yeah.
What about because he's currently an injured reserve right now. That's not going to help him with regards to getting his new contract. It actually favors us. It favors us quite a lot.
No,
I
think Michael Gallup is out the door. I'm sorry, and especially.
Yep.
I said it in the off season. I was critical of them giving $2 million to Cedric Wilson. I think Cedric Wilson has shown he can do something for us, and he can play as a third receiver or fourth receiver behind one of your tight ends. Mike has brought up the point there. Dalton Schultz will be due a contract at the end of this season if he's staying around.
That's a good point.
It's another Anthony Hitchens situation, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of contracts this year which are coming up that need to be renewed. So I would say like that you have this year and next year for me, and then they're going to have to recycle and rebuild.
Possibly.
But in terms of we had the question there from Mike that Dan Quinn might head for a head coaching role. I'm not sure that's going to be a case for next season. I think he's happy back working as a coordinator. But would you guys share that sentiment, or do you think he's going for head coach?
I think he has to prove it more than just a 1 year thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's come from Atlanta, not worked out great. He's come here, and it's good, but it's the same kind of coaches is very much the same thing of, okay, you've done it, do it again.
Yeah, it's brilliant, but is it consistent? That's the question.
Yeah, I think I don't think anybody comes into the league and says, "I want to be an offensive coordinator and I'll stick at that." I think they all come into this league and want to be a head coach. Jordan, like I say, he had a short-lived head coach kind of career, didn't he? While he was then, he's been outstanding as a defensive coordinator wherever he's been, but I think he wants the reins, like I say. But with how this defense is being moulded at the minute, and he's been allowed to go out and get his guys, I think that could entice him to stay a little bit longer. As long as he gets that free roll of having the guys in that will actively show how dominating his defenses can be.
So, you can see the smirks on the guy's face. The private chat is quite lit here amongst us. But one thing we did want to bring up, Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, what a performance at the weekend from him. The numbers were pretty amazing. This season he has been blocking, he's been running angry, and he's been running and bowling people over. So have we got Zeke Elliott back?
We've always had him. We've always had him, but here's the reason I really want to talk about Zeke is like I was at like a couple of weeks ago. I was invited to the Eagles podcast, like the UK Eagles, and they said, "Be nice. They're a nice bunch of guys." Despite they support a trash team, all right. But they asked me,
burger.
Right? They asked, right, Fetch, come on.
Sorry, Paul.
Right. So they asked me the question where, do you think Zeke is no longer running back number 2? I'm like, what's that based on? And they're thinking, well, he's not getting as much snaps. This is the way how our offense is playing right now. We're playing it based on situational circumstances now. We're playing against their weaknesses now. Like, why run Zeke into a brick wall when we're not going to get much yards? And whereas if we give it to Pollard, he can be more elusive going out to the slot, like screen pass and whatever and that. Like, we're playing more to strengths where we're always like, when Zeke's like, there's been games where Zeke's been amazing in 2016, but there's been games where he's actually been very lackluster. it's always kind of been like that. It's just based on the defense that you're playing up against. Whereas this game and the game last week, we're starting to see like Zeke has always been Zeke. Just now that Zeke's actually like had a really good training camp, he looks in fantastic shape. He's a lot more elusive. It does feel he is back to the 2016 version of him that when we got him his rookie season, which I'm excited for.
Yeah.
It feels like he's got a point to prove himself. So, and said that, I just I actually don't know where I'm going to go with this last point. I'm sorry, but all I'm trying to say is that the media are full of shit. That's all I'm saying. Do not listen to the media. Trust
don't let it.
Watch if you watch what you're seeing and you feel comfortable if Zeke's doing well, you stick by that. Don't let the media, like the populist media or the fantasy guys, tell you XYZ. Nah.
Yeah.
Good morning football with our finger on the pulse again.
Exactly.
There we go.
It's ridiculous. Zeke has calmed down a lot. There was a point that came. I think it was on the break from yesterday that I listened to this morning. He's calmed down a lot. He's matured a lot. He's growing more. He's taking care of himself. He's not going out sort of, not saying he did, but not going out sort of like partying all the time. He's not drinking as much. He's taking care of himself. He's taken what was a weakness in his cuts and turning it into a strength. He is improving himself and slimming up and trying to improve his game in every way possible. And then also, like we said earlier, and like Paul said just now, he's playing situationally, as is everyone. And if he's got a block for the majority of a game, he's going to block for the majority of the game because that's going to help Dak and whoever else get what they need to do to get done, because everyone there is playing to win games now. They're not playing to get their own stats up. They're playing to win.
Let's not forget as well the fact that apart from the suspension, Zeke's not missed any time since he took over the starting job at Ohio State. He's literally been the cowbell for Ohio State at a top level. They went on to the Natty, and he's played at a high level for the Cowboys. And so he's very a couple of years ago he had a little bit of a lull, which everyone goes through, but you would probably expect it more from Zeke just for the fact that he's not missed any time. And we touched on it a little bit just before we came on air. He was due a big game. He was due massive game on the ground. It was coming. He was touching high numbers last few weeks, and like I say, and he was being the ultimate team player, kind of, and letting other members of the running back committee get some touches. But he just went off it. He looked. There was one of them. I can't remember what play it was. I can't remember if it was one of the first downs, and it kind of the blocking kind of brought down a little bit, and it was that kind of old kind of Zeke. Like he just kept the legs pumping and pumping, and they ended up getting the first down. And it was like this is the Zeke that we saw a few years ago. And like I said, there's the hunger, and I think that's where we benefited from. What was it from Hard Knocks? Like just for the fact that you could see there was something brewing in that off season with him. He looked hungry. He looked ready. He looked probably maybe the most hungry he's been since he's come into the league, and that might be to prove the doubters wrong because the last few years he's had. But yeah, he was that's the Zeke that we drafted, and
I
feel sorry for the teams that have got to come up against him this year.
Yeah, I think it really kind of puts a lot of silencing of the critics, especially what we were just saying, Good Morning Football, and people who were arguing. It's like, is Seed worth the money? Yes, he is worth every single penny. When you really do break it down, it's not just about rushing; it's all about the pass protection he also gives for Zeke, for Dak as well. And Zeke is a good pass blocker for pass protection for a running back. He is exceptionally good for that. So, and not just that, he is the type of running back is designed for power, designed for it. Like even though he's a pure athlete, but for him to truck linebackers down in a butt time and over, it's going to wear on our defenses, and that's the type of running back that Zeke does. It might like you're talking about 4 times out of 5. You're maybe talking about 4 or 5 yards, but he's bringing the hammer every single time to those linebackers and defensive linemen who are trying to make a tackle on him. And by halfway through the game, they are just going to. Those defensive players are absolutely spent. They don't want to tackle him no more. That is a God-given fact. I wouldn't want to tackle him no more.
No. So just two small things, and like we're nearly an hour into the show and we haven't even moved on to the defense yet. And I know Rich Jones has a fantastic stat for all of us that he wants to share with us.
Oh, I got a few.
But in terms of Zeke Elliott, I mean, ultimate team player. He came into the league as a 20-year-old. He's 25 at this stage. He's maturing, and he's settling into himself. But, what we're giving you guys tonight and what we try and always share is that we're talking about football. We're not doing the Good Morning Football thing and the Kay Adams thing of talking about fantasy football stats. And people talk about they're not getting fantasy numbers and stuff like that. Look at what Zeke does in the game. As we say, look at the pass blocking. Look at the game against Tampa. The amount of blocks he picked up to protect his quarterback, to protect his best friend in Dak Prescott. That doesn't get shown on any stat sheet anywhere at all.
And don't forget the wear and tear he gives defenses.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's like he is literally a battering ram for him to get those 3 or 4 yards in the majority of the plays. Like he's going to cause absolute carnage. Like using his body as a battering ram, putting linebackers and defensive linemen on their backside. They'll be like, no, don't want to tackle him no more. Then they put Tony Pollard in, and he'll don't.
I was just about to say that they absolutely tanked, and then you put Tony in, and whoop, he's gone.
Exactly.
That's what surprises me about Zeke. Like I say, just the way his running style is, that he's not missed games through injury. Like I say, because he's that battering ram up the middle.
And that's what's amazing about him. That's amazing about him, especially. And there's one thing about Zeke now, and he's been more of a team player, but I think he is really taking that mental attitude where, right, okay, it's now 17 games a season now. I'm on this big, massive contract. I still want to play up to the highest level till I want to retire. I want to try and earn at least another decent. I might not get that same contract ever again, but I still want to try and get another contract after this. Like if that's his way of thinking, then great. He's trying to think about how to last longer in the league as well and be effective for the Cowboys. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Again, over 200 yards between the pair of them. So it's one of the. Mike brought up the comment, Chubb and Hunt or R2. I would go with R2 to be perfectly honest, because
it's a coin flip. I think it's actually a coin flip. It really depends who you're playing against more than anything.
For me, I think our two guys they're almost like chalk and cheese. You know, if you figure out one, you can kill the team with the other.
Yeah. I think with Chubb and Hunt, they're very similar in terms of running backs.
Yeah.
Like it's like you put one in, you put the other in, you kind of expect the same thing, whereas you just kind of said there, Graham, it's like a yin and yang.
Yeah.
Like one's power and one's more speed and elusiveness. Like you're getting a different dynamic with that.
Yeah.
So, do you know what's and I know we're kind of touching on Zeke here, but we just mentioned Pollard a little bit back in a. Do you know what impressed me a little bit more about him this season? He seems to be a lot more patient in his runs and he lets things develop. Whereas in his rookie season, it was kind of sometimes a little bit too eager to get the first time I'll get a big run bursted off. But now you'll see he'll go. It's not open. He'll see he just won't go for the first thing. He lets. He's obviously getting it. Like saying, this is a testament to the running backs coaches and to Kellen Moore as well. That's putting him in a situation where he can thrive. And it's like I say, it's good to think like it's not one of those situations, is it, where like touch wood, Zeke doesn't go out for anything in terms of injury-wise, but if for some reason Pollard has to pick up the slack and be running back one for a game or two, you're not going to be scared as such that you're not going to get a lot of running yards because Pollard's showing that he can churn them yards up and he can get it, and he's becoming very mature to say that he was a backup running back in his college days, and he's taking on this bulk load. I think really well, like saying it complements this offense really well. It gives us that extra monster on offense to cause them defenses a lot of problems.
Brian, I know we're watching our time and we're thinking about moving on, but I just want to shout out to Cooper and Cedric Wilson. Cooper, 3 targets, 3 receptions and a touchdown. Wilson, 2 targets, 2 receptions and a touchdown. What more do you want?
Efficiency.
100% receptions with 2 touchdowns.
2 receivers.
And Cooper was about 80% as well.
If there's
one last point, we'll move along.
Yeah, one final point. If there's one thing that we need to give credit is actually the bumbling mistakes that the Panthers actually did during the game as well. 1, with the timeouts. 2, with the 12th man on the field, when you actually told the guy to get on the field and actually they got flagged for it. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I was like,
this is Matt Rule we're talking about. Head coach.
It's like, get in there. It's like, get in there. And I'm like that just helped us gain
and kicking the field goal.
That just helped us got us a first down because of that.
That long field goal.
Oh,
that was pretty much downhill from that point. Again, they were saying, I'm pretty sure it was Jesse was saying on Hanging with the Boys. Shout out to those guys. It was pretty much a downhill from that point on because they gave him a short field. That's a turnover right there. You do something like that, a kick from halfway, you don't make that. That's a turnover essentially in midfield.
And like I said, Matt Rule and his decision making with his timeouts, it actually every decision that the Panthers coaching staff did just actually benefited us as the game went along. We actually ended up burning the clock the majority of that fourth quarter. So but yeah.
Cheers, guys.
So moving along, we're going to flip over to the defense now. But before we do that, obviously, want to give a shout out to all our fellow content creators. So you've heard some of the names there: Hanging with the Boys, J Tuck, Law Nation, KT's Fun Tweets. All of the guys at the Dallas Cowboys media, the guys on 105.3 The Fan. Go check those guys out. They are an encyclopedia of knowledge. And follow them, listening to them, you will not be disappointed. Paul, if you want to do the regular shout out.
Sure. Guys, if you're planning going to a Dallas Cowboys game this year, be sure to go with Cowboys Experience for ultimate meet and greet, tailgating, and game day packages, experiences, and much more. Meeting former players like Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, current players like Michael Gallup, as you can see in the photographs, and many, many more. But also get to meet like a Hall of Famer, Drew freaking Pearson, the original number 88. And guys, every week, me and Jamie, we cannot vouch these guys that they treat you like absolute royalty. But if you use the discount code UK Cowboys, guys, what do you get when you use the code?
Rich,
say it. Give it to me. Say it, guys. Come on, say it. What do you get?
Get free stuff.
You get free stuff.
Chocolate pudding.
Like
chocolate pudding, maybe chocolate pudding.
Rich explained it really. Rich explained it really well. Just go through the process one more time, Rich. My camera's on reverse.
Oh, brilliant.
But yeah, guys, be sure to use the discount code UK Cowboys. It could be varied from t-shirts to memorabilia, signed merchandise. It could be anything. We don't know.
Yeah.
But
Paul, you are going to a few games this year, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Not to put you on the spot, but did you use the code UK Cowboys to get free stuff?
I have used it before.
Good man, see, because Paul's not a clown.
There we go. But also make sure you follow the guys at Cowboys Experience on their Twitter, their Instagram, their Facebook pages. They always have pictures and videos and moments up from the weekend, from the tailgating, from the meet and greet with players. So follow them along. You will not be disappointed. And as Paul says, you will be amazed at who you'll get to meet when you get out there. So follow them along. So, gentlemen, as I say, we're nearly an hour and 10 minutes into the program, and it's time to talk.
Defense.
Defense. There's only one place to start this tonight. Rich Jones, take it away, sir.
Right. There's there was a question. I'm going to pick it up from the pre-game show. The question was asked on that show: is Trayvon currently like top? Is he one of the top guys? Is he really good? Is he legit? And I don't think coming out of this game you can say no. I was very cautious on that, and I said he's on the right trajectory. He's not there yet. But when you actually look at the stats, specifically in terms of interceptions now, you look at all the corners that made the Pro Bowl last year. Xavier Howard, Jalen Ramsey, Alexander, Tre'Davious White, James Bradbury, Stephon Gilmore, Marlon Humphrey, and Marshawn Lattimore. All of them, or the vast majority, half of them, had one interception. Marshawn Lattimore had 2. Tre'Davious White and James Bradbury had 3, and Xavier Howard had 10. Your boys got 5 on 4 games. This is all from a season's worth of work. Your boy's done that in 4 games. He's got a Pro Bowl caliber season in 4 games in terms of interceptions. Obviously, not everything else.
Yeah.
That's freaking sick. And the crazy stat on that's specific to Brian, and I know he already knows what it is, because again, I heard this and I half-inched it from the guys at Cowboys. But your favorite man, Jeff Heath, in over 100 games, got 8 interceptions. Yeah. Trayvon's done it in 16.
Yeah.
Do you know what's crazy as well, Rich? To add to that, and I can't remember where I've seen it, but he's got more interceptions than 27 teams combined. 27 teams in the NFL this season alone.
Yep.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Cray.
The funny thing is, I saw a stat on Monday. Apparently, our 3 worst graded players on PFF were Trayvon Diggs, Micah Parsons, and Osa Odigizua. So, if you're following PFF, unfollow them straight away because they don't know what they're talking about.
How many times do I need to tell you guys? Don't take it as gospel. Do not take it as gospel.
Don't ignore Graham. Graham gets angry at this. This is his pet hate. It's brilliant. Next to like ignoring offensive linemen, I know, but you know.
Listen, honestly, I mean, I picked them up on DeMarcus Lawrence so many times last year. I mean, Mike quoted a few of their quotes like, DeMarcus Lawrence got the 3rd most amount of QB pressures in the league in 2020. Problem was 3/4 of them turned into touchdown passes. All right, okay, that's fine. What's the point of that? I just don't take them as gospel, guys. Move on.
Ladies and gentlemen, Graham has taken off.
Graham. Don't hold back. Tell us what you think. Mate.
I mean, even like I need to go in for Micah Parsons called them out on Twitter, and they got absolutely roasted for it. Just go back through his time. You'll find it so early. Just go back through his timeline.
The best bit is, even if they're right, those are your worst players. Yeah, I'll take that.
If they're the 3 worst players this week, the one may that continue.
Yeah.
Isn't this the same scenario? Back in 2019, they had Jameis Winston as one of the top 10 quarterbacks.
I mean, prosecution rests. I mean, honestly,
2019.
Do we need any more than that?
He led in interceptions, but they still had him as a PFF grade within the top 10. How does that work?
Yeah.
Like, I'm all for analytics and stats, but Like, sometimes you gotta just trust your gut and use some common sense. Like, I got some
Just
crazy
watch the fucking
hype
film.
stats. Yeah, I got some crazy hype stats for later that go, like, I'm gonna go way down the frickin' rabbit hole. But sometimes you gotta just be like, okay, come on now. Just get real.
Pay peanuts.
Watch the tape.
Yeah, if we are to give them just one bit of credit, and I'm going to flip this back to the offense for 1 minute, I do believe they've given Zach Martin a 95.4 PFF grading.
If that's
So
one,
they know something about linemen.
if that's one thing they have
One
graded,
thing.
something,
Yeah.
if that's one thing PFF have always graded very exceptionally well is offensive linemen.
Yeah, breaking news. Zach Martin's a good player. All right, move on.
Guys, no one knows this.
Hashtag triggered.
Scoop.
So
Oots noise.
I did say, sorry, we were talking about this earlier, that I did have something to say about Randy Gregory. So how good was it at the weekend to see Randy Gregory back? We mentioned this last weekend that he was
amazing.
just right there and he exploded at the weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, what did I say during before the lead up to the season? Randy Gregory for the first time has had a proper training camp. He's not had any suspensions. He's been on the get go. He's in the proper program right now. Expect big things from him, and we're starting to see that.
I'm gonna say to Paul, I'm gonna say to you what I never say to my wife. You were right. I'll never say that to her, but I'll say it to you. You were right.
The kid was special. The kid was special in college. The kid was special in college, and we all know he had his issues.
Big wheels in the house.
Big wheel, deep on burning.
And yeah, and I think no one's condoning the use of marijuana, etc. But it's as the leagues finally come to the conclusion that it doesn't enhance his performance, and now that's kind of all gone away. I think we're gonna finally see the Randy Gregory that came out of Nebraska and Cowboys. Although he had this lingering over him coming into his pro career, that the Cowboys were willing to spend that high pick on him because it's ended up being a steal. Just like Trayvon Diggs is going to be a steal in the second round.
Yeah.
I think also Digizua is becoming a big steal as well.
Yep.
And I think time will tell where it comes to Chancey Ralston, despite he's had not even once
nothing,
very little training camp at all.
Do you know? I'm glad you mentioned, because for weeks and weeks you've been mentioning your boy Oste, and I've been like, I need Chauncey. You all know how much I love this kid coming out of college, and he finally got half a sack. Buzzing for him. I'm gonna jump on the Paul bandwagon each week. Every time Chauncey does well, I'm gonna give him some big love. I mean,
honestly,
the guy need the big love.
Like I said this, I joined the Star Gang show, and a shout out to Professional. We had a bit of a on and off opinion. He wasn't too sure about Chancey Ralston. I was like, listen, if there's one thing about Chancey Ralston, he's got an amazing get off and really good hands on him, and that's something and he's got length on him. That's one thing that we kind of we still is a Dan Quinn type of player we're acquiring here, and 2 games for Ralston with 8 targets. Dog, you just kind of nailed it in the
DJ dog.
But with Ralston, I think it's quite remarkable with him just coming back from whatever this injury was. I can't remember what the injury was. With very little training camp, it's all been mental reps for him just to finally get out there and play some ball and see him what I was expecting from him. And I think, like I said, the guys in Star Game with Professor O and stuff like that, they're starting to kind of I know Nick's was he liked Chancey, he loved the Chancey Ralston pick. But I think, like said Professor, he's now kind of okay, now I'm starting to see what you guys are kind of starting to see now, seeing him now. It's only going to get better. It's only going to get better with this kid. But
Yeah.
what also did Gizua? Oh,
So
guys.
I'm just going
He's playing
to
real well.
cut in before we move on to Osa. Just one final point on Randy Gregory. So Jerry Jones had an interview with 105.3 today, with the Fan, and we all know the amount of in-depth knowledge they have of the players going through the draft process. If I told you guys Randy Gregory had the highest SAT score they've ever had come through the Dallas Cowboys, would you be surprised by that?
No.
Not at all.
You go listen, like I said earlier in the show, if you've not listened to it, you've not seen it, go listen to his post-game interview, and I would love to hear more of him. Listen to the way he speaks, how deliberate he is. The intelligence comes through, and you can see why they drafted him and why they drafted him so high and why they've kept a hold of him throughout everything that's gone on.
I think to the naked eye, it would be a surprise because when you look at the history, what's happened with Randy, you would assume he's a bit of it. And I'm not trying to bash Randy for this, but for being an idiot for taking, but people didn't. But it's people being narrow-minded thinking about him more so. You know what I mean? Like what he did, what he had to do, he had to deal with his mental problems. So, but like you said there, Brian, he is a very well intelligent individual.
That's one of the things I love about the Cowboys is that the fact that he had his issues.
I didn't know that, Lloyd. I didn't know that.
There you go.
Yeah, he had his issues coming out of Nebraska.
Nice.
He's had him through the NFL, and like I said, the Cowboys stuck to him. A lot of teams look in the past and just in terms of look at the Browns when they drafted Johnny Manziel, got a little bit of trouble here and there, wasn't working out, and they just kind of panned off him. And he's always seemed like kind of one of them kids that needed maybe a bit of a guiding help and a helping hand. And the Cowboys did that with Randy Gregory. They were like, look, we're not gonna throw the towel in on you. We're gonna look after you. And the Cowboys will reap the benefits from that because that will make him hungry to want to fight more and try and get a championship. And just look at it in the terms of what Tyron Smith, when he signed one of his contracts, he got paid a lot of money for it. I don't know if it was the current one or the one before that he could have earned a lot more money. And he was like, no, the Cowboys looked after me when I was going through a rough injury patch, and they sorted medical bills out, etc.
It's funny that you mentioned
look after the players.
It's funny that you mentioned that. You could say the same for Jalen Smith as well. Like they helped him through his recovery phase with his knee and stuff like that, and we actually he's on a high end contract, but it's not as high, it's a very team friendly deal for when you really break it down, and I think I'm not here to assume, but I don't know how the contract works with Randy because he's missed out so much time. I think he's like 2 years left, and it's still a part of his rookie contract.
So he's still effectively on his rookie contract, and this is the last year of that rookie contract. We need to renew him at this stage.
Right. So this is the point I was going to make. With the investment that the Cowboys by sticking by him all this year, I think Randy's I don't think I could ever go with another team because they've never because they don't know what the support the
amount they're invested in each other.
Well, it's not so much the investment; it's the support group. More than anything, it's it just really comes to show that Jerry and everyone within the Dallas Cowboys really want to make sure that the players are well looked after on and off the field.
And just to touch on what you were saying there, Paul, and we have mentioned this several times on the show, in terms of the support that Randy Gregory has gotten from teammates in the past, teammates who are no longer there. I remember hearing stories, Jeff Heath, Jason Witten, Zach Martin, all of the O-line guys writing letters to Roger Goodell, pleading with him to allow him to be brought back into the Cowboys facility for his benefit, that he needed that structure around him.
Yes.
and people around him that would positively impact on him. They begged for that to happen. And that shows how much faith they have him, firstly as a teammate, but also as a human.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
and that's an amazing thing to see.
Sorry, Brad, just to jump in right quick. Just because Sky broke it, the Cowboys are live on Sky on Sunday at 9:25.
Perfect.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Just because I've just seen it now. Sorry to jump in on that bit.
Yeah, so Cowboys versus Giants, 9:25 p.m. in the UK.
The Giants to get destroyed.
Sky Sports Cowboys.
Graham, you were going to say something there, were you?
To continue on with the Gregory contract, though, remember we're flirting with the cap, with the top of the cap, and if somebody offers, and if he goes and gets 10 sacks this season, somebody's going to offer him a good contract, which he would find extremely
money's
difficult
coming
to
in,
turn
though.
down.
I don't know, Graham. Like, I think they could throw as much money they want around it, but I think it's more to do with the structure that Brady needs. And he's got that does. But I think, like, for example, see if a team with all the salary cap in the world, I'm trying to think Jacksonville. Like, they're like their organization is absolutely all over the place. You know what I mean?
It's a short career, and he's not made a great deal of money. See if somebody comes in with a $15 million a year contract, he's off. Jerry
will pay him once he's retired. You know what, Jerry? Well, he probably will, but I'm sold that Jerry stays. I'm sold he'll be with us.
They'll work it out on
with
the
Paul.
back end.
Yeah, you can look back through the time that Jerry's had this organization. Like I say, that the comfort of knowing that someone's got your back. Like I say, you just look back at people like Charles Haley and Hollywood Henderson, that Jerry and his family looked after them. They had their issues off the field that were well documented. And like you say, someone like say just needs that shoulder to be able to lean on, and like you say, the structure's there. And the money's tempting, but also with all that money comes temptation in other things. And so if you can get, like you say, like possibly Jerry will pay him at some point. He'll get a fairly nice deal from us, but he'll have that support network there, a support network that he can trust. He doesn't have to go back through it with another team. So I as much as I get what you're saying, G, I think I agree with Paul. I could see him staying, to be fair, just more it's a natural surrounding for him, and he's comfortable in this.
Yeah. So I know we've mentioned the name a couple of times, and it's something we did want to bring up last week, but also Diggy Zoo again had another great game. I think Mike provided us with a stat that the most pressures from rookies this year. Mike Parsons, Diggy Zoo.
I think it was DJ Dog. It made the comment.
I think DJ Dog might have mentioned it, and I know Mike said it to me earlier just to make sure that we got it. But
it's unheard of having 3 rookies having a stellar game, like all takeaways and sacks, like that's just setting the example. It really is.
We've just stumbled into depth, I feel, at pretty much every position. Like, we came in and we're like, there's a hole here, there's a hole there, worried about the depth there, and all of a sudden it's just like, they're playing well, you're playing well, you're playing well, the rookies are all great, everything's fine. You know, it's just like, what the frick is going on?
If there's one thing, and I'm sure you guys are going to agree with, there's one thing I didn't think that didn't go too well was the miscommunication when we had our backup corners in.
The video I put up on the group chat, just to let everybody make everybody aware. It's the last touchdown the Panthers score, and I've literally just watched it back. So Tommy Tremble runs a corner route into the corner, and Kerse and Maurice Kennedy, they both take him, run into each other. DJ Moore comes out of the backfield and wanders into the end zone. And Kerse and Kennedy end up just shoving each other and it's the easiest catch you'll see all game.
Yeah, so
It was quite funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a touchdown. It should never have happened, to be honest.
Yeah.
And let's not also forget, and this is not the pick on Morris Kennedy show. For the second last touchdown, I believe he was turned around and was actually looking at the player receiving the ball. I think it was DJ Moore, wasn't it?
It was DJ Moore.
And he had no idea Sam Darnold had even thrown the ball, and there is DJ Moore receiving the touchdown in front of him.
Just with a little sitting down with it. Got it.
But it's not the Kennedy bashing show, because the touchdown I'm talking to, Kennedy has tremble.
Yeah.
You know, he's stopping because Kersh doesn't have Moore.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
It's not that wasn't I put that on Kersh, the last touchdown.
There's nothing perfect about this team. They're playing very well. They're not perfect. There's things to clean up. But like we said earlier, and we've seen from last week, the problems that we had last week, we haven't seen this week. There's going to be other things that are going to come up.
Yeah.
But as long as they address them, it's fine.
But I want to add one good point, and it's a controversial point, was the hit. That particular hit.
That was a clean hit.
What, the foul, you mean?
It was absolutely a clean hit.
That was clean and cold.
I mean, what's he meant to do? Just let the guy catch the ball?
Yeah.
See what happens? I mean,
apparently so.
Sorry, mate.
It's a contact sport. He uses the shoulder, keeps his helmet out of the way. I don't know what more he could have done.
You should teach him that.
In real time, where the referee saw it, it looked as though because the head ricocheted back. It's because of the velocity of the hit. But it was we all agree, it was no head to head. It was using the shoulder. It was a clean tackle. It just looked bad from whatever the referee's perspective was.
That was a flag that could have been picked up.
Yeah.
Like,
and I think this is where the argument now becomes into play. It's like, can we start challenging flags for this?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's now you're pretty much, you can challenge pretty much nearly anything else, like out of bounds, was it inside, was it past the line of scrimmage, all that, those type of things, but you can't challenge an actual flag. I mean, come on. It seems
what was the
forward
flag?
Progress?
What was the flag that Rowe couldn't throw? Can anyone remember? There was a reason why Matt Rowe couldn't challenge.
It was on the fumble because there was forward progress and it had been stopped. We got
away with one there.
Yeah, we did. We absolutely did.
Again.
Jamie has a smile on his face there. He's obviously checked out Kay Adams' Instagram account again.
I was, as always,
savage.
I was listening to you. So, do you know what?
I was listening.
Yeah.
To be fair, I had a comeback coming in, but I thought I don't want to embarrass Brian, because we know his girlfriend of the show.
Oh, this is brilliant.
Well, again, I think, look, that flag just goes to highlight the whole idea of the no fun league. That it could have been picked up. It should have been picked up.
Yeah,
and there was absolutely no need for it.
I mean,
as DJ Dog says, good, clean, hard hit. Like, when are they going to make a determination of these things?
5 years ago, that's not a foul.
No, it's not.
They're trying to cut down on stuff. They're trying to cut down on stuff, and they're taking, obviously, seeing it live, it looks like it could be bad. But then all you need to do is just take one look at it and just pick up the flag and say, actually, that was perfectly fine.
Yeah. How often have we heard the previous play is under review?
Exactly.
There's
no reason it couldn't be done. I'm all for throwing it. If it looks bad live, by all means, chuck the flag in there, because they want to they're bringing safety to the fore, which I think is right. That's perfectly fine. I got no problem with that. But like you said, the previous play is under review. You review it. If it's clean, you pick that thing up, and everything's fine. It's like, that was a good, clean, savage hit, but it was clean.
Yeah. I just want to, while we're talking Cowboys defense, I just want to touch on the Panthers offense for a change. It's amazing what you can do when you put a young quarterback into an established team and how well he plays. I'm sorry, but the Jets have gone from a questionable Zach Wilson to moving on from a perfectly good quarterback. He will have a good season. Sam Darnold has led them to 3-1 for a reason, because he's a good quarterback. And all of a sudden, he's an established offensive line. He has a good running back in McCaffrey, and he has a well above average defense. And hey ho, they're 3-1.
Do you know what it shows? I don't like to say, just for the fact that
I said that
for years, aren't they, that the Jets kind of all the crap around the Jets is a bit of a shit show in it, and like you say, put anybody that goes there is going to fail. Put him in a good position, and sorry, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember what we were just saying there.
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold. Like I said that. Like I thought the Panthers have picked themselves an absolute steal.
Yeah.
In terms of what they traded for. I'm like Sam Darnold's going from a bad situation to a fantastic situation under a different scheme, better O-line, better weapons ahead of him, probably a much better organization. That's for sure.
Yeah. Let's be honest and say this. Sam Darnold a couple of years ago went from seeing ghosts in the pocket against the New England Patriots on Monday Night Football to ripping us asunder in the next game. He carved us apart. So he's a good quarterback. He's not elite. He's not going to be a top 10 quarterback, but he is a very, very he's above average. He's a good standard quarterback and would start for any top 16 team in this league.
Would you say he's going to be like a primed version of Matt Ryan when he was with the Falcons?
And he's 24.
Yeah.
I can see similarities.
Maybe.
Like the two interceptions, especially the second one, it's not as if like you see sometimes quarterbacks get a bit erratic, don't they, and they'll just throw it up there. They were very good plays on defense to, like I say, especially that second one to get them interceptions, and it's like I say a change in culture and coaching staff. I mean, I always have this thing of these guys play at a high level in college and they don't become bad football players overnight, and you could say that Sam Darnold's one of those in it that shows that that's true. He wasn't a bad quarterback coming out of college. He just went to the wrong team.
But see, that's the thing. The interceptions happened once we gained a 15, 14-point lead. So we knocked the Panthers off balance, forced them into the run. That's where our running game takes over. That's why when I said I wasn't too concerned about Diggs. The best defense is our run game.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very true. So again, we've gotten to that point in the show where it's time to give our cornerbacks and our safeties a little bit of love. Again, we had the two interceptions from Trayvon at the weekend. Safety play was very good, bar that hit.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't had to rely on Bossman Fat yet. He's still on the IR designation. Mukwamu and Wright are in the 53, but they're being used sparingly. So have we got a little bit of depth there, or are you guys worried that, the three safeties that are there on 1-year contracts? And I think Rich or Jamie, you made this point last week that there are $1 million guaranteed for this year. Is it a false dawn, or will we have some of these guys back next year?
I think some of them will come back. Why?
I think some of them,
especially with the culture that we're in, and they're well suited to Dan Quinn's style of play. I think we'd be stupid not to bring them back if we can get them on a team-friendly deal again. Fingers crossed. Someone will try and poach them, but yeah, why not? I mean, if it works, why change it?
That's the problem you're going to face with bringing in players in 1-year deals, though. if they have great seasons, somebody's going to come in and offer them a good deal, especially with teams with loads of cap space. I mean, see, right now, we're $18 million over the cap for next year.
Yeah.
So you can't throw money at everybody. And then you've got the Dolphins sitting $78 million worth of cap room.
Yeah, so, but then you've got the argument that are you guys, which, to be a realist in that kind of situation, that kind of discussion, you can turn around to guys and say, well, with the greatest respect, or at least some guys you can say, with the greatest respect, are you balling out because you're a baller, or are you balling out because you're here in this scheme? So is it better off you testing the market and maybe getting something and not really getting anywhere? Or do you want to stay here, still make decent money, be in a very good scheme, in the best position to succeed that you've been in so far, and we can maybe do something special?
Yeah.
It's just what you said there, Rich. I mean, do you guys agree that the era of players going after Super Bowl rings is over? Do you not think most players chase money nowadays?
A lot of them do, and it's understandable. But you need to remember that these people are competitors at the end of the day, and when people get into winning situations, they tend to not want to leave. The counter to that argument I would make is Tom Brady. Not him specifically, but just generally the people around him want to stick around him because they're in a winning situation. They knew they could go on and be something special, and they did.
Yeah.
I suppose that's why they've returned all 22 starters.
That has its own issues, though. I would always say.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just want to make one point, Graham. I mean, you're saying that we're 18 million over the cap for next year. Let's not forget that team from Pennsylvania was 54 million over the cap at one point during the summer before they had to cut down. So.
And where are they?
It can, yeah. I don't disagree. I mean, let's not forget they're paying Indianapolis Colts quarterback more than we're paying our quarterback this year.
Yeah, they're in a bit of a hole. Isn't there more money?
Things, Brian, because that's funny.
What?
Keep saying good things because that's funny.
Go on, Rich.
There's more money coming in as well, isn't there? Isn't it next season they start to get some money in from like TV deal and stuff? Or
yeah,
I think it might be. It might be tight for next year, but from the year after, and as we come out of COVID,
like next year's just
it will
the first
build up,
and then
then it should leap. So that's why, as you were kind of say about Randy Gregory, is they might back end his contract and say, "Look, Randy, we're going to back end it, but as the cap goes up, we'll build up your signing bonus, which can be spread over the 3, 4, 5 years of the deal. So he will get his money in time. It's just how you structure that. And it'll be the same potentially for Leighton Van Der Esch. Trayvon Diggs, we're going to have to give him a new contract at the end of the season. It's just about how you structure those deals.
And that's what's one of the confident things, that over recent years, this front office has become very smart and very savvy and very, I'm trying to think of the word, but they've been very smart with the cap, whereas we used to see years ago they used to just throw money here, there and everywhere for the sake of it. And now I don't know if that's because Stevens maybe got more control on the salary cap side of things. But something's definitely working. Like you said, I'm sure whatever they ended up doing, they will make it work so that they don't snooker themselves and can't make moves going down the line. If we make a run, we need to just kind of make a move just to strengthen the team and improve it a little bit for a deep playoff run.
Yeah. So we're an hour and 40 minutes in. Yeah, I saw that comment, Rich. But
I don't know what you're on about.
Time to give our special teams a bit of love. I mean, I think Greg Zerline kicked everything this week. He had all his touchbacks. Brian Anger has surprisingly snuck up, and I think he's the third highest ranked punter in terms of his yardage. I think it's close to 48 yards a kick now, which is higher than Chris Jones has had for years. So are our special teams pulling it together, guys?
It's nice to send your kicker out not having to make the kick to win the game.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. On a crazy long field goal as well. Jeez. Oh my. Yeah. Lovely. But yeah,
I mean,
things seem to be clicking.
He kicked a perfect game. What more can you ask for?
Yeah.
It's just you just hope it continues and you don't have to roll out for 60-yard field goals like I've criticised often enough. Perfect game. Move on. Hope it continues. I mean, you can't even say a great more than that.
Yeah.
There's not really much else to say.
I think we're all
Really?
getting fatigued at this stage, realising it's now almost 11:15 here in the UK and Ireland. So I think unless there's anything else you guys want to discuss, I think we'll start the wrap up of everything.
No,
Rich has the sheet, has he? And has a point.
Oh.
Yes.
Right.
Go on, Rich. The floor
Very
is
quickly,
yours.
right? Very quickly. Like I said, I went down the rabbit hole today because we need to take stock of where we are, right, as Cowboys fans, because we typically get a lot of PTSD because stuff goes right and then it all goes down the pan. So I think we just need to take a second, just appreciate where we're at because things are looking good. We're 77% likely to make the playoffs and stuff this season, right?
77%.
77. Fucking heck, all the sevens. Tidy. Right. I've done a bit of stat digging, right? And I'm like, this is real down the rabbit hole stuff. This is going to get a bit ridiculous, but it's interesting.
We're
It's
off to the
interesting.
Super Bowl. We're off to the Super Bowl, aren't we?
Well, maybe. Let's see what happens, right? Let's see what happens. We've started 3-1 on 23 occasions, okay? Start off the one probably everyone's heard this week. 23 times, made the playoffs 16 of those times, right? Of those 16, 10 of them have gone to conference championships. And quite a couple of those have then gone to Super Bowls, which is quite interesting. Now, hang on. Of those 3-1 starts, 4 times have the Cowboys lost the first game. Okay? You can see where I'm going with this. 3 of those occasions, they've made the playoffs. One of them was with Dak in 2016. Now, the really, really crazy thing that I found out today is, well, I'm going to preface this with a question because you got to try and wangle this one in. It's kind of a square peg in a round hole situation, right?
Where are we going with this?
You'll like it. I'm going to ask you a question, right? Don't answer straight away. Just think of the answer, and I'll ask each of you individually what your answer is, and just the first thing that comes to mind. Okay? How many years has Kellen Moore been with this team as the offensive coordinator?
3.
2.
Yeah. 3.
3.
Okay, it's actually 3. But do you really count the first year?
No.
When Jason Garrett was making pretty much all the calls and checking out of a lot of his plays because his ass was on the hot seat.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
So,
I see where you're going.
I think it's fair to say, arguably, I know it's not technically, but it's fair point to say that there's only been 2 years where Kellen Moore has been the offensive coordinator, and everything's been on him, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we're in a situation where you've got a brand new first-year defensive coordinator. You've got a second-year head coach, and you've got a second-year offensive coordinator. That's only happened one other time in Cowboys history. and that was 1995.
Oh, I was right.
And the best bit is, it gets better. The best bit is, 2 of the Cowboys, the 5 Super Bowls we've won have been 3-1. 2 of them have been 4-0, and the other one was the one where we started 0-2. And if Emmitt Smith hadn't held out that game, I bet you we'd be 3-1.
Rich,
So basically, I am full on fueling up the hype train. We're going Super Bowl. It's going to happen. I'm telling you now.
There we go.
Rich, that's not a rabbit hole. That's tickling the Earth's core.
I don't even know why. I don't even know how my brain got there. To be honest, I was just like, when was the last time we went 1-3? And I was just like, and dropped the first game. Oh wait, it was like 2016 with Dak. And I was like,
Right.
how many times has that happened? And it just snowballed. And I ended up somehow 1995, and Kellen Moore's the second-year coordinator.
To answer your question, to answer your question, why you were thinking about that, it's not so much did you have your Snickers, did you have your chocolate pudding?
The boy just delivers a stat like that, and we're tearing him to bits.
Not allowed to swear anymore. I got told off for swearing at the top of the show.
Or Marks and Spencer's chocolate gateau.
Ew. Posh.
So is that what we're saying? With to phone the jewelers in order number 6? Is that what we're saying?
Well, if Amber Garcia is to be believed, she's been in touch with Derek to make sure she's on the rings list.
The more important thing is if we get to the Super Bowl, Paul, are you flying out for the fucking victory parade?
If I can save up a couple of grand from Christmas onwards, then anything's possible. Anything's possible.
I think if we get to the Super Bowl, I think we will be hosting the pre-game and post-game show live from the Super Bowl venue.
Stranger things have happened.
Who knows?
Yeah. It might be the first time we've all done the podcast together in person.
I mean, it's even in SoFi, so it's one of the easiest to get to.
SoFi,
and they've good internet connections there.
They have internet. This is the point we got to. This is what, an hour and 50 minutes. This is feeling like the 24-hour show all over again. Just a small snapshot. Just right there. They have internet there. That's a thing we can talk about.
Right, let's move on to Thursday's pre-game show, folks. Thanks for swinging by to the show.
So, as always, folks, make sure Thursday night, 9 o'clock here in the UK, 4 o'clock on the East Coast, 3 o'clock Texas time, and 1 o'clock on the Pacific Coast. Mike and the team will be here. The special guest is confirmed, is it?
I can't remember.
I think pretty much.
I think he is.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
We can reveal there will be a special guest. It's Triple H himself. It's the hype man, Heckma Harrison. He'll be joining Mike.
Yes.
He was a breath of fresh air in the 24-hour show.
He was that injection of caffeine, wasn't he, for you guys?
Oh, yeah. He was.
See, when he met Kenny the shotgun, he lost his shit, so he did.
and Paul, let's not forget who else he met that night.
Jeff Heath.
Yeah, he met Jeff Heath, and he was just as happy about that one.
Never sit there. Yeah, you were as red as a Falcons jersey.
So we're going to get out of here, folks. Again, look, we give a shout out to all of our fellow content creators there. You can see them all: Big Gabe James, Tuck, Jeff Reinebold, the guys on the Cowboys media team, and again, shout out to our sponsors, Cowboys Experience. Follow them on their social media. The webpage, www.cowboysexperience.com. Use the discount code UK Cowboys and you get what, people?
You get free stuff.
Free stuff. I'm sick of saying it, man. People need to start listening and getting free stuff. It's starting to really get me down.
UK Cowboys send.
What happens if they don't send the code? What are they, Rich?
They're clowns and they get expedited deliveries of chocolate pudding dumped on their driveway.
So there you have it.
Can neither confirm nor deny, but it'll happen. I'll find a way.
Folks, see, if you don't say UK Cowboys, Rich gets all your stuff.
Don't use the code. Can we take the code out of the next thing? Paul, can you change it? Because I can get free stuff. You know, I'll share it with you. I'll cut it like 90-10 fair. You know,
Why are you asking me? I'm not Cowboys experience.
because you do all the visuals. You can make shit disappear. You know, on the sly.
Right, folks, that's it tonight. We'll see you next time.
Folks, as we say, 9 o'clock Thursday night, join Mike and the team. It's a good night from me.
It's a good night for me.
See you next time.